We'll go to the movie tomorrow, I promise, she said. But no one competes well with ghosts. At least no one in our town did. Not until Earl Deitrich arrived. Earl and Peggy Jean's house was rumored to have cost $12 million to build. It was 3 stories high, concave in shape, inset in a scooped-out hillside, the yard terraced with tons of flagstone. The front was filled with windows the size of garages, framed by white-painted steel beams. 90-foot skinned and lacquered ponderosa logs were anchored at angles from the roof to the ground, so that at a distance the house looked like a giant gold-streaked tooth couched in the hills. It was spring, on a Thursday, when I drove my Avalon out to their house for lunch. I'd never felt comfortable around Earl, even though I did my best to like him. But she had left a handwritten note in the mailbox at my law office, saying they were back in town and would love to see me. So I drove across the old iron bridge on the river, back into the hills, then through a cattle guard and down a long green valley whose fields were covered with buttercups and bluebonnets and Indian paintbrush. As I approached the house, I saw a sun-browned blond man in khakis and scuffed boots and a cut-off denim shirt setting fence posts around a horse lot that had been nubbed down to dirt. His name was Wilbur Pickett, and he'd failed at almost every endeavor he had ever undertaken. When he tried to borrow money to start up a truck farm, his own mother told everybody in town Wilbur couldn't grow germs on the bottom of his shoe. He wildcatted down in Mexico and set fire to a sludge pit next to the rig. Then the wind blew the flames through a dry field and burned down the local police chief's ranch house. Wilbur barely got back across the border with his life. In the Flint Hills of eastern Kansas, after a blistering 110-degree day, he unloaded an 18-wheeler full of hogs in rest pens without noticing the rails were down on the far side, then watched them fan across the hills into 3 counties under a sky spiderwebbed with lightning. But when it came to horses and bulls, Wilbur could come out of a rodeo chute like his pants were stitched to their hides. He broke mustangs in Wyoming and went 7 seconds with Bodacious, the most notorious bull on the professional circuit. Bodacious would pitch the rider forward, then rear his head into the rider's face and crush the bones in it. Wilbur's face had to be rebuilt with metal plates, so that it now looked chiseled, the profile and jawline faintly iridescent, as though there were chemicals in his skin. I stopped my car and waited for him to walk over to the window. His gray, shapeless cowboy hat was sweat-stained around the base of the crown. He took it off and wiped his brow and smiled. "I got a pipeline deal down in Venezuela. 20 or 30 grand can get you in on the ground floor," he said. "I bet," I said. "How about sluice mining in British Columbia? I'm talking about float gold big as elk's teeth, son." "How's the weather up there in January?" "Beats the hell out of listening to rich people tell you how much money they got," he said. "See you, Wilbur." "Jobbing out like this?" "Temporary situation. I'm fixing to make it happen." He grinned, full of self-irony, and pulled his work gloves from his back pocket and knocked the dust out of them against his palm. Peggy Jean and Earl had other guests that afternoon, too. A United States congressman, a real estate broker from Houston, a member of the state legislature, their wives, and a small, nervous, dark-haired man with a hawk's nose and thick glasses and dandruff on the shoulders of his blue suit. Peggy Jean wore a white sundress with purple and green flowers on it. She'd always been a statuesque girl, and the years had not affected her posture or figure. There was a mole by the side of her mouth, and her hair was the color of mahogany, so thick and lustrous you wanted to reach out and touch it when she walked by. She saw me looking at her from across the room. I went into the kitchen with her and helped her make a pitcher of iced tea and a second pitcher of lemonade. She washed a bowl of mint from the garden, then trimmed the sprigs with scissors and handed me 2 of them to put in the lemonade. The tips of her fingers were wet when she touched my palm. "Earl's going to talk business with you," she said. "He can talk it all he wants," I said. "You don't know civil law?" "Not his kind." "He can't help where his family's money came from."